Hey guys, welcome back to Margo Watches Movies. My name is Jake Margo, and tonight I want to be getting into a change I'm making on my channel regarding how I scale and rate movies. I've typically done a specific numerical value, and I want to move towards labels. So I'm going to be pinning this on future videos for you to reference, but we'll get right into it, and we'll start from worst, we'll end at best. And the worst of the worst for me, a 0 out of 10, we're going to call an absolute dumpster fire. And an absolute dumpster fire to me is a film that is egregiously and offensively and insultingly awful. It is a movie that should never have been made. It should never have even been thought of. It's a movie that aims to insult you. It feels spiteful in how bad it is. And it's a movie that will upset at least me viscerally, get me angry. And even when I think about a movie that falls into this category, still, even after many years, I still get angry about the fact that I subjected myself to such a degrading and disgusting movie. And what I would give as an example for an absolute dumpster fire would be The Human Centipede 2. This is a movie where the director belongs in prison for what he thought and put on screen. It is a movie so awful and disgusting. It transcends disturbing, which I think was the director's goal, but it's just nothing redeemable. It is absolute piss. And that is what I would call an absolute dumpster fire of a movie. So moving on from 1 to 2 out of 10, we're going to call a total failure. A total failure of a film is a movie that, again, has really no redeeming qualities. There's nothing about it that makes it worth recommending, nothing about it where you would ever subject yourself to watching it again. It's just not insulting at the level a 0 out of 10 can be. And that doesn't even factor in movies like The Room and stuff. We're talking about people who are setting out with a budget and all that to make a great film. And I know that's part of the appeal of like The Room, but I wouldn't even rate a film like that, like the so bad it's good kind of deal. But of a total failure film for me, I think something like the Twilight Saga, the YA adaptation of the books, a soulless cash grab that even the main actors have disavowed and claim nothing to them. They hate them. Robert Pattinson and Kirsten Stewart. They're movies that were so bad they convinced an entire generation of people like myself that Robert Pattinson was a bad actor. And they're just soulless. They can make you angry. Having to watch it sucks. Sitting through it, and there's probably better examples even of a total failure film, because I still think when you're in the 1 to 2 category, these are films that can upset you and just emotionally make you angry. It's just not quite to the level of a 0. So 1 to 2 out of 10, total failure of a film. So moving up to 3 to 4 out of 10, we're going to call that very bad. We're going to keep it simple. A very bad movie, one that you'll never rewatch, you wouldn't recommend. Does it get you viscerally angry? Does it make you wonder who the hell ever thought it was a good idea to make it? Not necessarily, no. But a very bad movie is still something that fails at almost every facet. And when I think of a very bad movie, this is probably going to be a hot take because it was nominated for 11 or 12 Academy Awards just recently. Amelia Perez. What a terrible movie. What a very, very bad movie. And it's puzzling to me that movie got the nominations and the hype and the acclaim it did, because the songs are bad. The language is butchered, and it should never have been nominated for anything. It felt political in a sense. And that is my example of a very bad film. 3 out of 4, I wouldn't recommend watching that movie. I'll never watch it again. Yeah. So Amelia Perez, 3 out of 4, very bad. So moving up on the scale to middle of the road, this is a 5 to 6 out of 10 movie. This is a movie that isn't necessarily bad. It's definitely not good. It's one that gives you lukewarm feelings. It's room temperature. It's very bland. It's vanilla. And this could classify with films that get a good cast, even have a good director, but the script fails or something along those lines. It's just not one that excited you. You might have felt bored watching it. And a movie I think of that I've watched recently ish in the last 6 to 9 months would be The Instigators on Apple TV, starring Matt Damon and Casey Affleck, directed by Doug Liman, director of the Bourne trilogy, and another movie I'll name later in the list as an example. And it's just a movie that did nothing for me. And I have no intention of ever watching it again, but it wasn't terrible. It just could have been so much better, and it just felt lazy and half baked. So I think that's a middle of the road film. And moving up and quite a big leap in quality for me is going to be a 7 out of 10 film, and that's going to be a movie that I have no problem recommending you to go watch in the theaters. It's a movie that you'll get tons of enjoyment out of, and it's just a really good movie, right? So very watchable, 7 out of 10. An example I would give for that, a movie I've seen this year, would be The Accountant 2, starring Ben Affleck and John Bernthal. That's a movie I actually ended up seeing twice in theaters. It's surprisingly funny. It's well directed. You have a couple of really good performances. The chemistry between the two leads is there. You have two pretty good action set pieces. It just doesn't do anything to elevate itself into the pantheon of like great action movies. But it did enough to get itself, I think it should get a third film, and I'll definitely go see it in theaters. So to me, that's a very watchable movie. That's like in the 7 out of 10 range again. So moving on, we go from 8 to 8.9 out of 10. And this is going to be what I call a must see gem. A must see gem is a movie that can exhilarate you, that is absolutely worth an annual, semi annual rewatch. I would own, heck, I have quite the Blu ray collection. You can't see them all. There's a shelf below on both that are out of frame. I own about 500 to 600 movies, and half of those I would probably call, not half, but a quarter of those I would call must see gems, movies that I love to rewatch and will continue to rewatch on like an annual basis that give you a lot of enjoyment. And I think a really underrated example of that, as I mentioned before, directed by Doug Liman, would be Edge of Tomorrow, Live, Die, Repeat, starring Tom Cruise. And that's a great sci-fi movie. Uh, Tons of humor, and a really cool and engaging like Groundhog Day style story. It's one I would always recommend people watching. It has like, as far as like 21st century Tom Cruise performance goes, especially like post like Tropic Thunder, he's really just become like Tom Cruise. And I love Mission Impossible. It's my favorite film franchise. But this has like a truly great Tom Cruise performance in it, where he's not just acting as Tom Cruise, and Emily Blunt's in it. And it's just an all around kick ass movie. And to me, that's a must see gem that's underrated. So 8 to 8.9 out of 10, must see gem. So moving on to these last two categories, um, there's really just a small distinction to me from what I'm about to say and the last one. Uh, and this is going to, the first one I'll do is 9 to 9.9 out of 10. And I'll call that an all-time classic. An all-time classic to me is some of my favorite movies, movies I watch and love to rewatch, movies I would happily buy on 4K, movies I would go see 2, 3, 4 times in theaters, movies that some people would call their favorite movies. These are great, fantastic, all-time great films, right? So I would say there's plenty of examples here, but most of Denis Villeneuve's discography, most of Christopher Nolan's discography, filmography. Well, I'm talking music now. Most of Quentin Tarantino's filmography. These are like, I'll give an specific example. Dune Part 2 for me is an all-time classic. I've watched that movie like 10 times already since it came out. Mission Impossible Fallout to me is an all-time classic. The Dark Knight, Inception to me is an all-time classic. And these, so many films from the 90s. Yeah, these are just like movies you love to talk about, that you want to see with friends, you want to watch with families, you want to make your girlfriend watch it, or your boyfriend, whatever, and that's just what these films are, and we all love them. So for me, it's going to be somewhat rare, but not like this next one, which is a perfect 10 out of 10 movie. And we're going to call that a transcendent masterpiece. And a transcendent masterpiece is something I don't expect to be giving out hardly ever, at least as like I review new movies. If I go back and review, and I've actually kind of spoiled this, if you've seen my 12 Angry Men review, I gave that film a transcendent masterpiece rating, a perfect 10 out of 10. I would give The Godfather, obviously, a transcendent 10 out of 10. I would give a movie like Chinatown. I would give the Lord of the Rings trilogy a transcendent masterpiece. These are films that change your life. These are films that make you wonder how they were made. And again, some of the examples I gave in all-time classics, you might be going, well, those qualify for this. And that's, that's what's beautiful about movies and their subjectivity. Um, but it's going to be so rare. If a new movie comes out that I give a transcendent masterpiece to, run your ass to the theater and go see it immediately, because wow. So, yeah, that's my list. That's how the new ratings are going to be devolved. You'll have this pinned in future videos if you need it as a reference point. And I hope you like the new intro. And that's the direction of the channel I want to take it. I have a small subscriber base right now. I don't get the biggest amount of views, but to the people that have reached out and family, friends who tell me to keep going, I'm pretty decent at it. I really appreciate it. It means the world. And I am going to keep doing this. And hopefully the channel will grow, and we can all grow together and watch some good movies, watch some good TV shows. So that's the new rating scale. My name's Jake Margo. This is Margo Watches Movies. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.